Today I'm going to go over arrays, which is lesson 5 in your workbook, and that's on page 38. So first, let's talk about what an array is. An array is when a group of objects are arranged into a shape that has rows and then columns in it. And it usually makes a perfect shape, so there won't be anything jutting out on any of the sides. So first I'm going to draw an example of one. So if I have these circles, right now, they're not arranged in any specific order, they're kind of all random, but I could arrange them so that they are in an order. So let me show you an array. So array would be something like this. So I could have these circles arranged in an array. You can see that there's rows. Remember, rows go left and right. So there's one row here, and then one row here. And columns go up and down. So there's a column here, another column here going up and down, and then a third column going right here. So when you have an array, you have the amount of shapes in them, and you usually make an equation to show how many shapes are in that smaller, or in that bigger shape. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But we can make an equation to show that. So there's two different ways that we could do that. First, we could start by showing it with the amount in each row. So remember, rows go left and right. So this is one row, and we have 3 circles in that row. So we have 1, 2, 3. So I'm going to write 3 plus, and then I'm going to make this a row. Remember, rows go left to right, and then I'm going to count how many are in that row. So there's 1, 2, 3 in this row. So 3 plus 3 equals 6. So this equation represents this array right here. So now we're going to do a problem in the book. So if you turn to page 39, we'll do the first example together. So if you look, you can see that there's an array of stars in this shape. There's no objects or stars that are kind of bouncing out on the sides. They're all in a neat rectangular shape. So it wants us to count up how many stars are there in all. So one way to do it is to count how many stars there are in each row. Remember, rows go left to right. So I kind of drew this picture and I circled the rows so that way you can see them better. So remember, rows go left to right. So this is a row, this is another row, and then this is another row. So we're going to write an equation. In your workbook, they do it on the side, but I'm going to do it on the bottom. So in this first row, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 stars. So I'm going to put 4 plus, now we need to count up how many are in this row. So 1, 2, 3, 4. There's another 4 in that row. We can't forget about this bottom row. So we're going to count how many stars are in this row also. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. So we need to add another 4. So 4 plus 4 plus 4 equals, let's see. So 4 plus 4 equals 8. And then if we add another 4, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So we're adding 4 more, so it's 12. So this is one way to make an equation to find the total amount of stars in this array. But there's also another way we can do it. So remember, this, we looked at the rows. Let's try it by looking at the columns. So if you look at this picture, you can see it's the same amount of stars. Same amount of stars. They're kind of in the same shape or the same array. They're like rectangles. But I made I circled in red the columns instead of the rows. So we have 1 column here, 2 columns, 3 columns, and 4 columns. Remember, columns go up and down. So now we're going to make an equation to represent the amount of stars in this array, but we're going to look at it by looking at the columns instead of the rows. So it's going to look a little different, but we should get the same answer at the end. So remember, they both have the same amount of stars in each picture. So let's start. Let's see how many stars are in this column. So we go 1, 2, 3. There's 3 in this column. So I'm going to put it right underneath that column. So 3 plus 1, 2, 3, plus another 1, 2, 3, and last column, 1, 2, 3. So we have 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3 equals how much? So we have 3, 6, 9, 12. I counted by threes. If it's easier for you, you can also still count the pictures, count the objects, and count one at a time. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Or you could break the number or the equation down into a couple steps. You could look at 3 plus 3 equals 6. You know that. And then 3 plus 3 on this side equals 6. So 6 plus 6 would equal 12. There's a couple different ways and strategies you can use to find out that the answer is 12. Now, if you turn the page to page 40, there's another group of array. This one is a little skinnier and longer, so it's a kind of a skinnier rectangle. There's only 2 rows, so remember, rows go left and right. So here's the picture in your book. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 on the top and 1, 2, 3, 4 on the bottom row. So we're gonna make an equation, but we're first gonna start with making an equation looking at the rows. So before I show you, think, if I'm doing rows, are they gonna go up and down or left to right? So hopefully you remember that rows go left to right. So this is a row. And then this is another row. So there's 2 rows. So now we're going to try to write an equation to show how many of those triangles are in each row. And then we're going to make an equation to find out how many triangles there are total in that array. So that first top row, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 triangles. So we're going to go 4. Black marker. So 4 plus, remember we're adding still, and then we're adding the second row. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4 plus 4 equals 8. So if you don't remember what 4 plus 4 is, you can always look at the pictures and add one at a time, count on. So 4 plus 4 equals 8. Remember, there's also one other way you can write an equation to get that same answer of 8. So, I drew the same picture that's in your book, but instead of looking at rows, we're going to look at columns. So do you remember, which way do columns go? Do they go up and down or left to right? So hopefully, you guys all remember that columns go up and down. So I'm going to circle the columns on this picture. So these are the columns. So you can see there's 1, 2, 3, 4 columns in this array. So now we're going to make an equation looking at those columns. So looking at how many are in each column up and down. So first, we're going to look at the first column. There's 2 triangles in that column. So I'm going to write 2 underneath that. If you look at that second one, so this one right here, you'll notice there's only 1, 2. There's 2 triangles in that second column. So 2 plus 2, we're going to keep adding. How many in this one? There's 1, 2. So 2. 2 triangles in the third column. And then look at that last column. There's another 2 triangles in this one right here. 1, 2. So you're going to write another 2 down at the bottom. So plus 2. Before we tally up, how many columns, how many red circles do I have? I have 4. And if you notice, there's 4 add-ins in my equation. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's still going to be one sum, but there's 1, 2, 3, 4 add-ins to get to that sum. So it should match however many columns you have. So we're doing columns. There's 4 columns, so there should be 4 add-ins. Remember, in that last one we did rows. There's 2 rows, so there should only be 2 add-ins. 1, 2. So this one worked. So now let's see how many there are here. So this one, there's 2 in each, so you can count by 2s. 2, 4, 6, 8. So 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 equals 8. So these are 2 different ways that you can make equations to show how many triangles are in that array. So they both equal 8. You're just showing it a little differently. So now it's your turn to practice. We did example 1 and 2 together. So now on pages 41, 42, and 43, I want you guys to try the problems by yourself.